Morning everyone. Thanks for coming to our presentation today. We're going to look to focus on the importance of muscle activation for AFL football. By the end of this presentation, you have a firm understanding of the importance of muscle activation so you can get yourself prepared for the vigours of AFL football. Preparation is key to performance on field. Activating your muscle groups to be ready for the dynamic forces you'll encounter during a game is extremely important. So what I mean by that is there's also all types of different forces that you're going to encounter when you go out to play sport. These being hits from opposition, contest work, sprinting, so forces against the ground, kicking, so forces against the football, and the best way to prepare your body for this is to activate all your muscle groups. Today's focus, we're going to look at using resistance bands, which I've got a whole heap here, and I can show you those and a few little basic movements you can do to prepare the body for the vigours of football. Now I'm sure a lot of you guys have gone out to play football, haven't warmed up properly. As soon as the siren goes, you're looking, feeling a little bit sluggish, can't get moving, a bit slow out the blocks. This is because you haven't prepared your body sufficiently enough to go full pelt as soon as that siren sounds. So we're going to discuss different little ways you can activate your muscle groups using resistance bands to get yourself ready to rock and roll. So session will be structured in a way that will definitely look at the muscle groups that are mostly used during a game of football, and these being majority of your lower half muscle groups. So you know, things like your hamstrings, your quads, your glutes, your calves, hip flexors, things like that you're going to look to engage when you're performing dynamic movements out in the footy field. So we'll look to that. I'll just give you a handout quickly, and this will be based on the different muscle groups we'll be looking at on the board. It'll give you a chance to follow on with the muscle anatomy so you can identify the different muscle groups and where they're located on the body. So I'll just hand these out quickly. So yeah, just feel free to follow on with that diagram as we're sort of running through the different muscle groups. So what I've done here on the board is I've broken down into a grid what I feel are the sort of main components of a football game, and the elements, sort of what muscle groups you're going to be using when performing different actions. So there's definitely a pattern here of muscle groups that you will look to activate during a game. So I've just sort of started with kicking, and feel free to follow on this diagram that I've given you guys. So kicking first. So I feel like there's 5 main muscle groups that you look to activate when you're kicking football. These being quadriceps, hamstrings, calves, hip flexors, and gluteus maximus, so your glute muscles. So if we're looking to perform a kicking action, so winding up to kick, okay, there's firstly you're engaging glutes, quads, hip flexors to drive through the football. Hamstrings are at full extension, and when you're looking to kick the ball with some kind of force, you're pointing your toe. So you're activating your calf muscle. So basically, all lower muscle groups are activated when you're kicking. We'll move across to running and sprinting. So a lot of football are repeat effort, sprint, contest work, tackle, get up off the ground, sprint again. So it's a lot of residual kind of running throughout the game. So again, you're looking at quadriceps, hamstrings, calves, hip flexors, and glutes. These are all really important muscles when you're activating sort of for sprinting, any sort of high intensity, highly dynamic movement. So you're looking to engage all of those. Marking, so yes, marking is taken and using your overhead stuff, but a lot of the groundwork's put in through your core, your hamstrings, calves, glutes, and hip flexors. So if you're looking at like a marking contest, okay, if you're pushing against someone, yep, you're using your upper body a fair bit, okay, but you're also wanting to have your core tight, your quads tight, your glutes tight. So that's where your centre of gravity is. So your centre of gravity is right here, and you know if someone's pushing against you and this is strong through here, okay, you're going to be hard to move in a marking contest. So really important that we activate the lower half again for marking contests. Obviously with contested marking and things like that, you're looking to push off an opponent and take a mark, or just hold your ground a little bit more. So you're using your upper body a little bit there. We can activate muscle groups simply by just performing some push-ups. Any sort of movement where you're pushing away from your body. So push-ups, you can do one-arm ball throws or something like that. You can grab a resistance band and look to push-pull. Practice those dynamic movements that you would in a marking contest. But for today's presentation, we're just going to focus on the lower half and how to activate that as well. And then the last one is your contest work as well, so ground ball. So we're looking at when you're going down to pick up the footy, the muscle groups they're activating, again quads, glutes, and then when you look to explode out from the contest, you're activating calves, hip flexors, and then again abdominal, your obliques and things like that. And again, so you're getting forces from either side pushing against you, so you need to make sure all your abdominals, all your lateral chains, so your obliques, adductors, glutes, everything is all activated, ready for those dynamic forces that are going to be pushed against you in a contest. So why is it important to activate muscle groups? I guess you're looking at you want to prevent injury as much as you can, and you want to have the body prepared and ready to go for the vigours of football. Just to my right here, and we'll go through a couple of these, and I'll hand a couple of these around. So I'll hand a couple around now. So you've got all sorts of different resistance bands. So as you can see, fair bit of tension. This is a medium. This is a medium resistant bands. A lot of them will have weighted kilograms on them. So these are the resistance in the band. So you've got 11 kgs of resistance here. So as you can see, that's a lot. For example, if we go to a light one, who's got a light one? Oh, yep. Oh, here we go, light. You got light? Okay. All right, so you got a light one here, which is 6 kilos. So just depending on, I guess, if you're training in the gym regularly and you're activating your muscle groups, you're training, you're building strength into your muscles, you can always try out the light one first. Me, myself, being a little bit older, when I play football, I tend to just go with a light, just to get the muscles ready to rock and roll. But if you're a lot younger than what I am, and you know you're using resistance bands regularly, or you're doing strength work, you might want to up it to the stronger ones, the medium. So light, medium, then you've got strong, extra strong. So these are so important in my pre-game warm-ups. I feel if I go through my proper muscle activation routine pre-game, then my muscles are ready to rock and roll. I can feel that there's blood flow going through there. I feel lighter, and I'm ready for that first bounce to get myself moving, rock and rolling. So I'll just give you a couple of demonstrations now on activating certain muscle groups that we've listed up on the board here. So for this, I'm just going to use the light one. Alright, so if we're looking at activating, we'll start with the glutes and we'll work our way down. So if we're looking to activate our glutes, it's just simply stepping through the resistance band. Okay, pulling up around your middle quads. It's getting yourself into like a seated squat position, and these are simply just crab walks. So it's moving left and moving right, and you'll start to really feel those glute muscles activating. Okay, this is a really important one. This also helps with your lateral chain as well. So moving down through your glutes, down through all your lateral chain here, activating all those muscle groups. And if you're trying to think about what kind of movements in a football game this is reenacting, is if you go down for a ground ball and you come up, right, someone's force is against you, you know, you're trying to move away from the contest. These resistant bands are getting your muscles prepared for these type of movements. And next one is, we'll move through to hip flexors. So again, you just have your resistance band, okay? And we are just looking to step through. So we're just looking to step through here. Okay. Both feet in here. As you can see, it's around my feet. Okay, and then we're just looking to just lift up and down. You can have your hands out to the side or the front if you feel like that's going to support you with your movements. And you start to feel the burn through these hip flexors here. So when you're sprinting, okay, you're reenacting that movement, okay? So running, okay, and what you're doing is you're preparing the hip flexors for dynamic movement. So sprinting, the force that's going to be pushing through the ground, when you're trying to really dig in to chase an opponent down or lead to take a mark, this one's really important. We have, if I can just lay down on the ground, okay? Hamstrings. So I'll move down our hammies now, so under here. So just, keep following on with that diagram I've given you. Okay? And then simply just legs apart, so almost shoulder width apart. Okay, and these are just bridges, and these will activate your muscle group. But at the same time, you've got the resistance band, so you're trying to not let your knees collapse. You're trying to keep your knees at shoulder width apart, and that resistance coming down through here. And when you're activating your hamstrings, okay, as you pause and hold for 3 seconds, okay. Remember not to let your knees collapse inwards. You're trying to resist against that force of the resistance band, okay? And these will get the hamstrings prepared to rock and roll for those explosive takeoffs and things like that through sports. So when you're leading, when you're breaking away from contest, okay, when you need to really get to a ground ball, get low, swoop on the ball, pick it up and take away from that contest, this is preparing all the muscle groups here. Pretty simple. All right. All right, moving on. We've just got a couple of other resistance bands here. So again, these ones are a little bit different, and they come in different thicknesses and different lengths. So this first one here, big purple one, as you can see, it's quite thick, and that's got quite a bit of resistance on it. And once again, it'll tell you what kind of resistance you're working with there. And then some of the other ones aren't connected. I find these ones really, really good to use if they're separated too. So you've got another purple one there, it's a different resistance, and you've got a skinnier one here. Alright, and you can see that's quite a lot easier. Alright, so if we're moving down to your calf muscles, so this is a good one here that I use because I do tend to have issues with my calves quite often. So it's just simply leg through, leg up, and toes facing back towards you, and then you're just pushing your toe forward and letting it come back nice and slow. So as you can see, it's activating my calf muscle, getting that used to, ready to go against the force, and the force being the ground. So when you're taking off to sprint, you're getting up on your toes, and you're trying to drive through your hip flexors, through your quads to execute power to be able to get moving quickly. I really like this one. So yeah, I'll pass these around as well. We can have a look at these ones. Here we go. Okay, so as you can see, there are various ways to warm up. I see a lot of people using just static stretching, so your basic, like, quadricep stretch and things like that. I tend to look to use those throughout the week. So I'll do a static stretch session before bed. Some people use different dynamic warm-ups, so things like squats, lunges, drinking birds, calf pumps, things like that. So I usually use that pre-game, so when you're going out, it's sort of your last 7 to 10 minutes before you're about to start playing. I go through a dynamic warm-up routine, but whilst I'm in the change rooms and I'm warming up for football, I'll use the resistance bands and make sure that I'm activating all my muscle groups in preparation for the vigours of football. So all your contest work, your sprinting, your marking contests, your ground ball contests, these resistant bands are amazing to get blood flow to start pumping through your muscles, get you prepared, get you ready to rock and roll, so that when that ball goes up, you're at your physical best to be able to compete and put your best efforts out on the park. So just really remember that when you're going into your pre-game routines. You can pick these resistance bands up from like Kmart, any sporting store, things like that. So if you've got any more questions in regards to this, please see me at the end of the presentation and we can have a bit of a discussion and go through a few things that will definitely help you with your performance on the football field. So thanks very much for listening to my presentation, guys. I really appreciate it. We've discussed the benefits of muscle activation to prepare the body to be able to compete in a physical demanding game of football. So obviously I've really enjoyed to be able to come here and present to you guys today and pass on my knowledge of 30 years in the game on best ways to obviously activate muscle groups and prevent injury through preparation. Next session we'll probably look to discuss a little bit on mobility, so making sure your range of motion and your ability to perform high dynamic movements are ready to rock and roll for obviously footy. So thank you so much today for coming, guys. I'm just going to hand out a quick feedback form, evaluation form, so if you guys could just have a look at these. They are just add your name, and then there's a series of little elements here that you mark from strongly agree to strongly disagree. So if you feel like you've learned a lot from my session, please fill this out and I'll collect those at the end of the presentation. Thank you.